Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to The First Pencil with Kathi and Mike. My name is Mike the Car Guy. With me, as always, my way cool bud, wicked awesome car gal, and friend of horses everywhere, Kathi Cruz. And I'm talking with a little bit of spring in my step, if that makes sense, because I'm super excited. I have a new mic. Mike has a new mic. So we're doing the show with a new mic, and I'm really happy about that.
Ah, nice. Nice. What kind did you get?
On the advice of someone I respect tremendously, I got this blue snowball.
Yeah.
Snowball ice is what it's
Yeah.
called.
Okay. Great. That's what I have.
I actually I shared with you last week in driving quite a distance recently to do some dealer visits. I was listening to our episodes of our podcast, and I wasn't loving my voice. And that's, I mean, I'm sure everybody will say, I don't like the way my voice sounds. It was the quality, not necessarily the sound of my voice. I can take the sound of my voice. I just wasn't happy with the quality. Having listened to now other podcasts that obviously are professionally done, I was like, there's a real difference between my voice and Eric McCormick's voice. He sounds much better than me. So I invested in a mic, and we'll see how it goes.
That's good.
What's new with you, my friend? How are you doing? You don't have a new mic, but I'm sure there's something going on in your life.
Well, I don't like my voice either. I sound, I don't know, I sound different than what I think I sound like. It's weird.
Everyone does, I think.
I can't hardly stand it. I'm sure extroverts have no qualms about that, but yeah, it's weird. It's like, and then I think, wow, do I talk like that? Oh, it sometimes sounds bitchy, and I don't know. Yeah.
I haven't heard any bitchiness, and I've known you for a long time, so I haven't heard that part.
Yeah. Well, it is what it is, man. I can't change it. I can't change it. I come from a
anybody.
I come from a family of entertainers, and my mom, she would sing and dance, and so I can sing. I don't sing. I mean, I don't go out and sing, but part of singing for me is the exercising of your voice. And a few years ago, I had this awesome voice teacher, and I don't have it anymore. And I was just thinking the other day, it would be so nice to have that back, because I think all of us who maybe not so much that work in a dealership, but other people that are working from home, you don't talk very much. And
right.
You don't get a lot of your voice, your vocal cords don't get a lot of exercise. And I have to do some speaking in the end of September. And I was just thinking the other day, like, wow, I should probably start singing something.
Right. They're muscles, right? Your vocal cords are muscles, and if you don't exercise a muscle, it does start to deteriorate over time. So yeah, you may be halfway through a speaking session and run out.
Exactly. I have a fear of that. So yeah, so that's food for thought. I'm gonna definitely make some moves to get some, at least sing some things. I don't know what, but there's exercises too that he taught me. But anyway, yeah, so that's what I've been doing.
Awesome. And I know you've also been doing some stuff with Facebook.
Yeah, just to well, if you'd like a status update on the Facebook ad situation, it's a whole lot of nothing.
Ouch.
Another week.
I didn't want to spend a whole bunch of time on it, but I did want to update from last week. We got into
and there isn't much to say other than they suck.
So, all right then.
I've gotten word salad emails. I've 3 or 4, and then one over the weekend said, "We're going to close out the ticket because we haven't heard from you." I'm like, "What?
Are you kidding?"
And then I got another one that said, "We're working on it. We've got the team. We haven't heard anything." This is something that literally less than 5 minutes a human could fix. And I'm just glad I don't have a client waiting for me, or I don't have to do too much, with it, whereas other people do. But that's, yeah, so that's the update on Facebook ads. And for anyone that didn't listen last week, I simply tried to just do a Facebook ad for the Honolulu fundraiser, and they accepted it easily, and then they rejected it a few days later, saying there was unfair business practices, or unacceptable business practice.
And yet it's the same image you've used that met their guidelines all these years.
All these years. Yes. Same exact image. And so, and same, almost exact same copy too. And so long story short, because they rejected it a second time, because I had to make another ad, they disabled my ad account. So I don't know what to say. So that's that.
Facebook sucks, but it's kind of like one of those necessary evils. You kind of got to be there, especially businesses, right? I mean, how many consumers check to see if this business has a Facebook page? And you were starting to share something before we started to record about a business that,
well, when they don't want to take your money, then what are you supposed to do, right? You're trying to give your money to Facebook to spend, and they don't want it. So, but anyway, back to, yes, you're talking about Facebook, and yes, I have, this is a kind of a lesson for everybody to just learn from, maybe, or just take to heart and not let this happen. I think we've stopped this from happening, but it could have been a nightmare. So I look at businesses, their Facebook page as an asset. It is an asset. If it's very popular, if you've got a lot of fans on it, and you're well known on a certain, doesn't have to be Facebook, but whatever platform you're on, if you go to sell your business, that is worth money. And yes. So I think a lot of people don't look at it that way, but so
I think it's an afterthought to a lot of people that it doesn't even come up until after things are done.
Yeah.
How many businesses have bought a business and then realize, oh, how do we get to the Facebook page? How do we get to the Google business profile? How do we get to the company's Twitter?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've been in buy sales, but those do get addressed for sure. I've been myself in a buy sell and then consulted in some, but those are things that you have to think about, because they are, even though they're not on your property, they are your property for as long as the platform will let you be. So anyway, I have a client that's been on Facebook for a very long time, and they have a new vendor that requested all the logins for things, but what they wanted was the dealership's ownership, Facebook ownership email and login. So when you create a Facebook page, you create it through an email and a login. Okay. And then when you let other people manage your page, you go in and assign them as admins. And there's other roles that they can have, but the
editors, managers, that kind of thing. Yeah.
The admin has as much access as the ownership of the page. So this vendor asked for the ownership email and the login, and that they called me, and I said, first I gasped. And there's a few people involved in the decision around this, and so I was trying to just help them, not help one person, kind of make sure, give her the terminology to share with the other decision makers. And yeah, the other decision makers didn't care. They were about to give it up. And so and the company is a big company. It's a big company. And so when there's factors in this, and when you've got a big company, you've got a bunch of people that are employees and that may or may not have training, that may or may not feel good about their company, there's too many variables in there for them to have access to that. The biggest thing is they don't need it, but and because they'll have the same access, whether they have the ownership login or the admin login, or admin, they're considered admin. So there's that, but they were just about to give it away, and she stopped and said no. And so I'm not sure where that's at right now, but I hope that it's worked out. But at the end of the day, so what I wanted to say today was, don't ever give anybody ownership login on any of your social media profiles ever. The reason that company I mean, I don't know for sure because I didn't ask them, but I'm just going to take an educated guess. The reason that they wanted it was so that they could go in and set up a business manager for that dealership, for that group, and then run ads out of the business manager, which is what you should do. And in most cases, when a vendor takes on a client, the client doesn't necessarily know how to create a business manager, right? And so they have to go walk them through it. And I have friends and associates that run Facebook ads, but they have different approaches where they will get someone at the store and walk them through it. Maybe they share a screen, whatever it is, but they are able to, they certainly don't need the login for the ownership of the page. Also, Facebook gets, I've tried to do this. Last time I tried it was just very difficult. Facebook knows the IP address when someone does that, and they get freaked out, and you get a lot of warning messages. And even if you're able to get in, then it makes it hard for the other person, the real person that had the ownership, to get back in. It's just, you don't want to go down that road at all with a vendor and messing with the ownership of your page. There isn't any reason. Take the extra time that it would be just a half an hour max to create a business manager, which then will that's the proper place to run ads from. You can run ads from Ads Manager, but the proper place is Business Manager. And it gives you a lot more. The ads themselves, I've been told by 2 experts that the ads run through Business Manager actually are better than the ones run through Ads Manager. And it gives you a lot more data and leeway, and I think also targeting opportunities, things like that. It's just different. And so all of that, I know that was a long story, but
No, but it's important. You got to protect your assets.
I
You got to
just
protect
don't,
your
yeah, don't.
profiles. Profiles should be counted as assets. I
Mhm.
know of a couple of companies I work with that shared some horror stories about a marketing firm. I won't name them, but their specialty is creating business listings on all the sites, yp.com, yellowpages.com, this site, that site, Yelp. They'll do them all for you. There's like a list of 40 that they'll push out, but and they charge $4.99 a month. But
Mhm.
when you do that, they create all these listings, they retain ownership of them.
Mhm.
I've had companies that call me and say, hey, we canceled this company, but we can't get into our Yelp page, we can't get into Yellow Pages, we changed the phone number, or we changed this. We have all these listings now that have inaccurate information, and we didn't create them, so we can't get into them. And it's a mess. It's an actual mess.
The same thing happens with Google Analytics and Google Ads. Some vendors will use their own and create an account for you, and that might seem fine to the person that doesn't want to really know about it. They just, I'm busy, I don't care. Well, you never know what might happen, and you certainly, for the vendor, it keeps them tied to you forever, and so that makes it so that they can raise their rates or do whatever they want. I personally don't like being in that position. So it's much better to have your own. A lot of the platforms have made it better for this kind of situation where you just enter your own information, and then they are given admin access.
And
So
these vendors rely on people not having the time and not wanting to educate themselves on the intricacies because it looks intimidating. So fine, I'll just pay somebody else to do it. And then they realize, oh shit, I've now tied myself and my destiny to this person. If I don't keep paying them forever, they're going to potentially junk me.
yeah, yeah, yeah. We tend to think in the moment, oh, it's okay, right? Because it is, but all the things that can happen down the line, it's just better. You want to keep what's yours. So
Definitely. And in that flavor, we've talked many times. I do all the time on Twitter, and I'm still going to call it Twitter. Never going to change that.
never going to change.
I'll search dealer names, and you'll see 6 or 7, Twitter handles with
Yeah.
that dealer name or a version of that dealer name, and then you click it, and the last activity was 2012, and maybe it was a salesperson that started it, maybe it was an internet manager, somebody started it, they left, nobody knows the password. So I just here recently, within the last 3 months, the company I work for purchased a company, and I'm getting access to all their social channels. And when it came to their Twitter, they're like, yeah, I don't know who set that up for us. If you look at it, it hasn't been updated. I go, yeah, it hasn't been updated for like 3 years. So how do I get into it? So then I got to write to Twitter. And it used to be if you had, the company email, right?
Yeah.
Joe at abcmotors.com or whatever, you could send them, hey, I work for this company. The person that set this up isn't here anymore. I need access to it. Forget about it. Now it's just a
No.
nightmare. So we had to, revise the name and start a new Twitter page, only because I still see a value of having a business
Yeah.
there, I mean, and so if you're going to do all these things and commit to a social campaign, that's one of the components that makes up. So I got a page that I've had to start from complete scratch, because that other one's just kind of floating out there and there's nothing I can do about
I have a confession to make. I paid for Twitter Blue.
it.
Yeah.
You did?
But it's for information gathering.
Okay.
And so far, what a surprise. Musk is a liar. What a surprise. because he said Twitter, if you're a Twitter subscriber, that you will not see as many ads in your feed. No, I think I actually see more.
Probably more.
I pay a lot of attention to not just tweets, but the comments and on many subjects. And so in the comment threads all the way down, just even yesterday, there was, I would say maybe 20 or 30 comments and an ad every 3 comments. And that's not less than what I was seeing. But I'm with a newsletter that I started the newsletter. There is a case to be made for some marketing of it, and some shall we say good quality information from me. So like those tweets that I put out that are just text about social selling.
Yeah.
So there's a school of thought where you do a thread of something like that. It's almost like a blog post, but it's in a Twitter thread. And so in my effort to, learn more about marketing newsletters and what other people are doing and how they're growing theirs, a lot of people are doing that. And so I thought, okay, well, I want to see the data. I want to understand. I want to see also if he's a liar, because he is, and just prove my point. And then also this thing about newsletters. So that's why I paid. I just paid, and but it's been a week or two, and
now I have a question for you. Since you're paying, I've been wondering, since we're on the topic, for a time, the Twitter's analytics page, when you clicked it to open the analytics, it had a beta link that you could open, and it gave a lot of great information. Well, last week it disappeared. Are you able to see it with your access?
I haven't looked lately, but I can.
Because last week I was compiling data and the beta button no longer works. It just takes you back to the homepage. I was like, are you kidding me?
Oh.
I started to really get some good quality info, because their analytics is real basic. It's real shallow. It's not really insightful, but that beta page gave a lot more engagement, clicks, adjustable timeline. At the top, like analytics is changing. Click here for something.
Yeah. What's detail analytics on analytics.twitter.com? Okay. So let me look. Oh, I actually do have something.
Oh, is there a beta page there?
It says, okay, so you go into, I'm on desktop, right? And you click more, and then you go to premium. And mine might be different because I'm on Twitter.
Mine just has Creator Studio and then a link for analytics.
Yeah. So I have a tab called Premium, and it gives me top articles, analytics, and preferences. So I clicked on analytics and it says new, quote unquote. And then it's got like a rudimentary, I don't know, whatever. It's 7 days, but it all looks great because it didn't have anything before, because I wasn't paying. And then there's a tab at the bottom, access your post analytics, and a tab to click on. And so I did that. And now, yes, I do have I do have an analytics.
See, now that makes sense. They're making you pay for their analytics. Because today, right now, when we're talking, I open up analytics.twitter.com and it tells me you haven't tweeted this month yet. People who tweet consistently throughout the month get higher engagement. And you know as well as anybody that follows me, I tweet the shit out of stuff. So thanks, guys.
So, dude, it might be worth your while to, here's my thing. Let me just say this ahead of time. I don't want to give him $1. I don't want to give him a penny. I think his business model is ridiculous, and so does just about anybody who's smart sees this as well. And the proof is that he's losing users and traffic, and advertisers are gone too. So, and it doesn't matter what he says. Look at what the real shit tells you. But making people pay for their analytics is against the concept of, like, you want people to come. That's so you can serve them ads. That is the business.
You want people to stay on your site, to rely on your site, to prefer your site. And he's making it more and more difficult to find a reason to stay on Twitter. And
he's going to,
for my account, that's still not going to give me access to the accounts that I manage.
No.
Their analytics.
No, you'll have to sign up for like Sprout Social or something. Which you should, if you're, I mean, I would trust their data anyway, better than Twitter.
I use Hootsuite to push it because the company has an account.
Sprout Socials are their analytics are better, but
yes, there's probably more comprehensive tools out there, but they're using this one, so I just got to log into this site and I have to use the tools that I have for work. So, but we make it work. Just sucks.
Forcing people to do stuff is never going to work. So, so I'm doing it for just an experiment. And
well, you got to keep us posted. See, now you got more stuff to keep us posted on, and more reasons for people to keep tuning in to see the progress of these things, so that they know what to do, what not to do. Right.
Yeah.
One thing I'll recommend to everybody that's listening right now: take a moment and go to each one of your platforms that you are active on, and just search your dealer, your business name, and see what's out there. You may find something that's detrimental. You may find something that's not good. You may find someone that nefariously created an account similar to your company name just to put out some BS stuff that could be hurting you. If you don't search, you won't know, and you got to inspect what you expect, right?
Yeah. And further, if I've been talking a lot about with not so much on the pod, but just talking about social media audits, and it's a good idea to do them. So that's the next step after, just if you don't want to do it yourself. Yeah.
You don't have time, or you're not sure where to even start, reach out to someone like Kathi.
Yes, yeah. Yeah. In fact, it was, I was trying to think why one of the things that was the catalyst for talking about is a journalist reached out and she had some questions. And one was, which is better to have one of the tools online to do a social media audit, or an actual, consultant auditor? And so, tools are great, but they're very high level. They're not gonna be able to give you all the information that you need. So they're fine, but just don't look at them as a tool to help you, not as the be all end all. So,
Awesome. Great info that we've shared today. Feel like switching gears? I love the car terms we use, because First Pencil is an automotive industry based pencil. We use a lot of car terms: switching gears, burning rubber, pedal to the metal. We're all about the car lingo here.
Yeah.
Although I gotta say, I'm the first one to, just last weekend, remind people, when you're using car lingo, your industry has its own language. Customers don't always recognize that language. I heard a salesperson say, "I'm going to have the sales manager book your trade," and the guy was like, "What?" And I just said, he's looking at you crazy because he doesn't understand that term. It seems pretty common sense to you and me because we talk it all day long, but he's use a word like appraise. It'll make a bigger impact, and it'll help him understand what's going on, because he's not going to ask you things like little stuff like that, because nobody wants to look stupid. No one wants to say, "I don't know what's going on." When you say, "I'm going to go to the sales desk," or "I'm going to go to the desk," I'm going to have the manager run a bureau and book your trade. He's just looking at you like, okay. Meanwhile, as soon as you go, the guy's like, what the fuck did this guy just say?
That just happened to me this morning because I was going to use the term TO. So I was texting with someone this morning about a salesperson and what was happening. And I said he should have TO'd it to the manager. And I stopped myself because I wasn't speaking to a car person, retail person. I was talking to someone in the business, but I wasn't sure if they understood what TO meant.
Got that term, yeah,
I
turnover.
do try as an empath. I do try to make sure that people, I don't want to make them feel bad that they don't know what TO means. So
Right.
TO means turnover to management for anybody
I hate that feeling too.
Huh?
I hate that feeling too. Just yesterday, I was reading some stuff from a friend of mine, friend of yours, James Klaus. He's recently joined a new company, and he put out an article about OTT marketing. And I'll be honest to say, I've heard it. I've kind of, seen it like ought this, ought that. And
I think it's a made up term.
I wasn't familiar with what it meant. And I wasn't going to be I just didn't want to reveal that ignorance and ask somebody, what does OTT mean? So when he went through the article and he explained it's over the top marketing. So now I feel like, okay, I learned something. I don't think I learned anything of value because it's a really fancy name for a commercial on streaming on Hulu and Amazon Prime services with a lot of data. Now, keep in mind, they got a lot because they own all that data. They can, chart the customer journey for you and give you all this stuff. But it's still, to me, maybe I'm not getting it completely. It's still commercial. No. OTT, over the top, doesn't have a lot of positive connotation to me. No. But so I learned something, and hopefully maybe somebody else learned something. When you see people talking about marketing, it's over the top. It's a commercial. Yeah, and I spend a lot of time in marketing, groups of people. It's made up. That's made up. And honestly, as a strategist, I just wanted to be part of my strategy. If you're going to advertise on Amazon, awesome. If you're going to advertise on Hulu, awesome. I think there's actually could be a case for that. I think. Sure. I'm not saying it is. But it's not over the top. It's part of your strategy. It's what? It's like, I don't know. Anyway. We need a separate name for it is all I'm asking. Yeah. Well, how about just, advertising on streaming services? No, it doesn't sound as cool. Well, maybe you can't get as much money for it either. You get some money for sounds very fancy. Here's our over the top package. Oof. Oh, you're buying this package for $5,000 a month? What about our over the top package? For only $3,000 more, we could get to the OTT over the top package. Yeah. All right, back to my original thought, changing gears. So this week, last couple of weeks, I've been seeing a lot of posts from a guy who I just absolutely adore. Guy by the name of Billy Duffy, plays instrument known as a guitar for a band maybe some people have heard of. They went through a couple of iterations. Their lead singer, Ian Astbury, originally had a band called the Southern Death Cult. And Ian, what got me into them in their early days was, even though they were an English band, they were really using a lot of imagery and lyrics around the plight, if you will, of the American Indians, Horse Nation, Ghost Dance. There was a lot of verbiage around the Indians, and I really liked their music. And then when they evolved into the Death Cult, when Billy Duffy came on board, I just fell in love with them. They did an EP, and then a year later came out with their first single from the Cult, and that's how people know of Billy and Ian's band now is just the Cult. They went through the Death Cult, the Southern Death Cult, now it's just the Cult. And Billy Duffy is, in my opinion, one of the greatest guitars out of that new wave scene. But I think that kind of pigeonholes him in a particular type of music. But he's just a great guitarist, overall. One of the interesting things about how, the degrees of separation, he was childhood friends and still best friends with a guy by the name of Johnny Marr, who played in a band that I didn't really like, called the Smiths. But Billy Duffy was also in a band. His first band was called the Nosebleeds. And do you know who the singer was in the Nosebleeds?
No, I do not.
Stephen. That's right, Stephen Morrissey.
Oh,
So he was in a
that
band with
seems right.
Morrissey and best friends with Johnny Marr, who ended up in one of the. You could honestly say the Smiths were bigger than the Cult. I mean, they were
Yeah.
at one point. The Smiths were freaking huge. So it's just kind of neat how that all come about. But the reason I mentioned it is he's going to be here in LA in a couple of weeks with the original lineup of the Cult.
Yeah. Are you going to go?
Which was the Death Cult. So that group that put out Ghost Dance and Horse Nation, Moya, Fat Man, some great songs. They're gonna just do a set as the Death Cult, and I don't think they're gonna do any of the Cult's later stuff.
Are you
And
going
I'll
to
be
go?
honest, I'm not gonna go.
Why?
I'm just not.
Where is it?
LA, a club in LA, small place. I'm not ready to get out there, I don't think.
Yeah, I hear
Of
you.
all the people that would probably pull me out of my little shell that I've retracted into, that would maybe be them, but I don't know. I'm still mulling it over.
When did you say that's happening?
A couple weeks, I think. A couple
Oh,
weeks.
oh. Well, COVID's been rearing its
Coming back.
ugly
That's
head.
what scares me. And I know I canceled my car show last weekend because of the rain,
Yeah.
because we got, the
What,
remnants of
hurricane?
Hurricane Hillary,
Yeah.
which I knew wasn't probably going to be as bad once it got inland, but it was still a lot of rain, and hot rods don't like rain. So
Yeah.
the reason I mentioned that is I got like 7, 8 direct messages from people that were like, "Don't be a wuss, man. Let's just get out there." And I'm like, really? Do
That
you
is
think I'm
disappointing.
canceling my show because I just don't give a shit? I mean, I'm trying to look out for my attendees' safety and their cars, and
Yeah.
don't like rain. And then someone went and said, you canceled it during COVID because you gave in, you caved, and I'm like, ugh.
Oh my God.
It's tough having to like justify yourself for something that you really like to do, anyways. Mary Beth was like, "Are you going to go to the show?" And I'm like, "I'm just not ready to go." She goes, "I get it. If you don't
Yeah.
want to go, don't go. You don't."
Yeah, I definitely. Yeah. It's tough when you're doing public things, and like a car show, and when you have a horse rescue that people want to come have tours. We do tours, and we stopped them during COVID, but we picked it back up again, and it's all outside, so it's not so bad. But
Sure.
yeah, but some people were just like super hateful and nasty about not, and we were requiring people to be vaccinated if they came out, because we have immune compromised people in our volunteer group, so we're just not sorry. And they're
And you
mad,
shouldn't
they're
have to
super
say
mad.
sorry. You shouldn't have to. People should
Yeah.
just go, "That's cool. I respect that. I'm
Yeah,
in."
but yeah, you
One
did the right
question I
thing
have
though.
for you, and I think I asked you before, and you may or may not have come up with anything, but I will share. There was a band back in the day that was pretty big, and I didn't like them more because of the fans that they had. I just didn't relate to their fan base. But lately, in the last few years, I've actually kind of really started to enjoy them. One, obviously, we talked about earlier, Elvis Costello, but that's completely different. I really like Elvis
Different in
Costello
your
now.
mind somehow.
But back in the day when Depeche Mode was huge in the early 80s,
Uh-huh.
I was like so not a Depeche Mode fan. And I think it had to do probably more with their fan base. I just didn't relate. I didn't connect. I was like, nope, nope. And since I didn't like the people that liked them, I didn't give them any attention.
Mm-hmm.
When they would come on the radio, turn it. I was that
Interesting.
that bad. But lately, in the last few years, I've actually kind of just rediscovered them, if you will, and really kind of gotten into them.
That's good. That's good. They
Interesting.
were on Smart List.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
I did not know that. Now I'll go back and find that episode. I
Yeah.
just started.
Oh, and let me tell you, Sean Hayes is the biggest Depeche Mode fan, and so is Will Arnett. Well, all three of them are, but they were fanboying. It was crazy, hilarious. So,
Well, so is Richard Blade, and my feelings about Richard Blade.
yes, but that comes from just being jealous, I think. So.
Yes, amongst other reasons, yes.
Yes.
And one other thing I
There,
need
so
to
you should
talk
listen
about.
to that episode
Oh,
with
yeah.
Smartless with the Depeche Mode. There, it's really good.
It's funny how like things evolve, people evolve, and sometimes you don't want people to evolve, right? Like I've evolved and learned to like Depeche Mode and really appreciate them musically. But in other aspects, like we were talking about the Cult a minute ago, when they got big in America after their first album, they got a new producer and went back to the studio and they came out with the album Electric, which was what really launched them big in America. And what's funny is when I heard Electric, I hated it. I couldn't believe that that was the same band that I had fallen in love with. And reading an interview in Rolling Stone, Ian Asper was like, we got to a place where we got a producer that we like and we can really be the band that we want to be, which kind of told me, okay, so all this stuff that I've been enjoying up to now is just some bullshit you were putting out just to get popular so you could do this. If you're being honest now, go back to lying to me. But as they continued to evolve, they kind of brought back some of that original sound that I had fallen in love with. So change can be good, change cannot be good.
Yeah, what a concept. What a concept. Yeah, I
Johnny
liked
Marr was
all
the
of
same.
them. I didn't dislike. I didn't like hair bands, but I was more like, where can I go to a smaller club and listen to somebody that's new that, isn't maybe on the radio kind of stuff.
I
Um,
used to love that. That was what was so exciting about the LA music scene is, when a band is at a club, you're hearing everything that's 1,000% them.
yeah. Yeah.
That's their energy, their sound. By the time they get to the studio, and a lot of people have a lot of things to do with it, a lot of input, a lot of changes. Maybe their first album is that stuff that they were playing in the clubs for a long time, and they perfected and they got honed in. Maybe some of it is still left over by a second album, but sometimes the third and fourth albums, it's not anything even close to what was originally in the clubs, and that's sometimes where I lose them. And I always like that freshness of the club scene. That's why I was such a fan of Al's Bar for so many years, in the Loft District, off the beaten path of Melrose and Sunrise. I mean, don't get me wrong, whiskey was like a second home to me, but Al's was where so many like fresh new acts were playing, and it was so intoxicating to be in that environment with them.
I liked McCabe's was my favorite place. That's where the Knitters started. The Knitters is the band that from X, the band X, X, and then Dave Albin from Blasters, and it was just I had been going there quite a bit, back then, and it was like, okay, the Knitters, wow, I never, who is that? And then I looked and I saw, wow, wait a minute, okay, there we are. I went that, and that's how I figured out who the Knitters were, and they ended up having an album and stuff, and but like the Plimsolls and Harry Dean Stanton was played, and just it was like literally like the size of a living room. the
Yeah.
back the back room, it's a guitar shop, and in the back is just a room, and they would serve lemonade and cookies. They didn't serve alcohol, and the walls were covered with guitars because they would sell out of there, right? But they would clear it out to have these concerts that were just teeny little stage, and that was a fun. They still do
That
now. I think
Al's
McCabe's
was
still around.
the warehouse. It was the first floor of an apartment complex, a loft building. It's like 8 stories high, 5, 6 stories high. And as the base floor was more like a warehouse, just a cement room with another cement room connected. That was the bar. And in the main room, there was just a wooden stage. It was only 2 foot high. It wasn't even really a stage. So, the band wasn't really high. They were just almost at eye level with everybody. It was just a tiny room, super loud. Social Distortion, the Muffs. I saw Guar in there, which with their whole big stage show with all the big heads. I mean, just some insane acts. A punk band from Seattle called Slam Suzanne that I definitely fell in love with. They were just so awesome. Just all these acts that you wouldn't see anywhere else. Slam Suzanne was not getting on the stage at Gazzari's or the Whiskey or the Roxy. They were a hole in the wall band for sure, but they kicked ass. They really did.
McCabe's is still around, in case you were wondering. I'm looking at what they've got.
Al's is not, sadly. It's a
No, yeah, I
high-end
remember when that
fashion
closed.
clothing store now.
Mm-hmm.
They sell jeans that cost $2,000 for a pair of jeans.
What?
Yeah.
Come on. That's crazy. Yeah.
All right. This has been a good one. Hopefully some folks got some good stuff out of it. Protect your assets, right?
Yeah.
And digital
Especially now. It's getting
digital
really bad.
addresses are assets, right? Digital property is an asset.
Yeah. And there's a lot of bad actors out there. Boy, oh boy. Yeah.
All right, Kathi. Thank you for joining me today.
Yeah.
I look forward to this every single week. I
Yeah.
appreciate all our awesome conversations, and I hope somebody else does too.
Me too. And thanks everybody for listening, and we'll see you next week. Bye for now.